Imagine if the teachings of Jesus were examined under today's values, a world obsessed with personal success, wealth, power, and self-expression. How would his words and actions resonate, or clash, in a society that often prizes ambition, materialism, and instant gratification? 10 shocking ways Jesus' teachings clash with modern values invites us to explore these profound contrasts, revealing how Jesus' radical approach to love, humility, and compassion challenges the norms that shape our lives today. Each teaching serves as a mirror, reflecting values that call us to rethink what it means to live with integrity, purpose, and meaning in a world that often seems driven by self-interest. The first surprising clash is Jesus' call to love your enemies. In a culture that often celebrates competition, revenge, and self-defense, Jesus' command to turn the other cheek and love those who oppose us is seen as both radical and difficult. While the modern world might prize standing up for oneself and winning against adversaries, Jesus' emphasis on forgiveness and reconciliation challenges us to view even our enemies with compassion. His teaching asks us to rise above retaliation and cultivate a sense of empathy and understanding, which can seem naive in a world where strength and power are often celebrated over vulnerability. Another clash is Jesus' teachings on humility and self-sacrifice. Today's culture encourages people to stand out, assert their uniqueness, and pursue self-promotion as a path to success. Jesus, however, taught that the meek will inherit the earth and warned against seeking the praise of others. He exemplified humility, emphasizing that greatness lies in serving others rather than in gaining attention or accolades. In a world dominated by social media, where validation often comes from followers, likes, and fame, Jesus' message encourages a selfless approach that goes against the grain of self-centered ambition, reminding us that true worth comes from within, not from external validation. Detachment from material wealth is another stark contrast between Jesus' teachings and modern values. Jesus spoke openly about the dangers of wealth, saying it is easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich person to enter the kingdom of God. He urged people to store up treasures in heaven rather than amassing wealth on earth. In our consumer-driven world, where success is often measured by material accumulation and status, Jesus' message challenges us to reevaluate what brings true fulfillment. His teachings remind us that excessive attachment to wealth can cloud our values and create barriers to meaningful relationships and inner peace. A fourth clash is Jesus' emphasis on community over individualism. Modern culture often emphasizes independence, personal boundaries, and self-reliance, celebrating that self-made individual. Jesus, however, taught about interconnectedness and the importance of community, calling people to care for one another and to love their neighbors as themselves. His teachings encourage us to build supportive, interdependent relationships rather than isolating ourselves in the pursuit of personal goals. In today's individualistic society, his focus on community care and collective responsibility feels almost foreign, reminding us that life's purpose is often found in lifting others up rather than just looking out for oneself. Turning away from judgment is another key value Jesus taught that contrasts sharply with today's culture. In a world where judgments are quick and often harsh, whether on social media or in daily interactions, Jesus taught, "Judge not, that you be not judged." His message was one of empathy and understanding, encouraging us to focus on our own growth rather than condemning others. This clashes with a society where criticism and judgment often feel almost automatic. Jesus' teaching asks us to practice humility and introspection, reminding us that our worth isn't in tearing others down but in lifting ourselves and others up. Another stark contrast is Jesus' view on power and leadership. While the modern world often views power as an asset to be used to control or influence others, Jesus taught that true leadership is rooted in service. He washed the feet of his disciples, showing that greatness is found in humility and servitude, not in authority or domination. In a world that frequently equates power with control and superiority, Jesus' approach presents a revolutionary idea, that the greatest leaders are those who serve others with humility. His teachings challenge us to reconsider what it means to lead, suggesting that real influence comes from compassion, not control. Forgiving as an act of strength also runs counter to today's values. In a culture that often promotes never forget, never forgive as a way to protect oneself, Jesus taught forgiveness as a path to peace, both individually and collectively. He famously forgave those who wronged him, even while on the cross. In today's world, forgiveness is sometimes viewed as weakness, but Jesus' message reveals it as a powerful act of release that frees us from bitterness and resentment. His teaching invites us to let go of grudges and to see forgiveness as a way to heal not just others, but ourselves. Another surprising clash is Jesus' emphasis on inner purity over outward appearances. In a world where appearances are heavily emphasized, from physical image to social media curation, Jesus taught that what matters is the heart. He criticized hypocrisy, emphasizing that true goodness comes from within and cannot be faked through external actions. This teaching challenges us to examine our intentions and prioritize authenticity over appearances, encouraging a life that reflects inner values rather than external validation. In a world preoccupied with image, Jesus' emphasis on inner integrity asks us to cultivate character that is genuine and aligned with our beliefs. Seeking peace over conflict is also a value that stands in contrast to modern culture's admiration for assertiveness, dominance, and even aggression. Jesus was known as the Prince of Peace, and he taught that blessed are the peacemakers. In a world where conflict often leads to polarization, his message encourages us to seek harmony and to bridge divides rather than deepen them. This teaching challenges us to approach others with understanding and patience, to prioritize peace even in situations where conflict might seem more natural or even desirable. Jesus' emphasis on love and compassion for all people especially the marginalized, the poor, and the outcast, clashes with a culture that often values people based on status, success, and influence. Jesus taught that everyone has inherent worth, regardless of their social or economic standing, and spent much of his time with those whom society ignored. His message asks us to look beyond surface-level status and embrace everyone with compassion and equality. In today's world, where social divisions are often stark, Jesus' radical inclusivity challenges us to extend love and kindness to everyone, especially those who are overlooked or marginalized. These 10 shocking ways that Jesus' teachings clash with modern values reveal just how revolutionary his message remains today. Each teaching serves as a call to examine our own values, inviting us to question the norms we often accept without hesitation. In a world that frequently prioritizes self over others, power over service, and appearances over authenticity, Jesus' message of love, humility, and compassion challenges us to consider a different path. His teachings encourage us to live lives rooted in kindness, forgiveness, and community, guiding us toward a deeper, more purposeful way of being. As we delve even deeper into the profound ways Jesus' teachings clash with modern values, we continue to uncover a vision of life that stands apart, challenging assumptions and reshaping priorities. Each of these teachings is a doorway into an approach to life that values connection over competition, humility over pride, and integrity over image. Jesus' message doesn't simply counter modern ideals. It invites us to envision a world where inner peace, genuine compassion, and shared humanity are valued above all else. Let's explore even more contrasts that reveal the timeless and transformative power of his message. A compelling contrast lies in Jesus' call to care for the least among us. In a culture often focused on achievement, wealth, and social status, success is frequently measured by how high one can rise rather than by how deeply one can serve. Jesus, however, taught that whatever you did for one of the least of these, you did for me. He emphasized that true greatness is found not in personal gain but in caring for the vulnerable, the marginalized, and those without voice or influence. Through this lens, Jesus challenges a world obsessed with upward mobility to consider downward service, valuing contributions that may never be seen or acknowledged but that truly impact lives. His teachings remind us that a life of purpose is measured by the love we extend to those who cannot repay us, offering a revolutionary view that real success is defined by how we serve others. Another sharp contrast is Jesus' teaching on the dangers of worry and anxiety. In today's world, where stress, anxiety, and mental health struggles are widespread, the message "do not worry about tomorrow" feels both comforting and challenging. Jesus encouraged his followers to trust in God's provision, to seek first the kingdom of God, and to let go of the constant need to control the future. While society often emphasizes planning, achievement, and preparing for every possible outcome, Jesus' teachings offer a perspective of surrender, inviting us to trust in life's natural flow. He advocates for living fully in the present, not with disregard for the future but with a faith that frees us from the relentless cycle of worry. In a world consumed by what ifs, Jesus calls us to find peace in what is, a radical invitation to release the need for control and cultivate an inner sense of security. The call to radical generosity is yet another way Jesus' teachings contrast with modern economic ideals. Today, financial success is often seen as a primary goal, with wealth accumulation symbolizing stability, influence, and personal achievement. Jesus, however, encouraged giving without expecting anything in return, even instructing a wealthy young man to sell all he had and give to the poor. His teachings push us beyond a mindset of giving from surplus or convenience, challenging us to give generously and selflessly, even when it costs us something personally. This teaching upends the traditional view of wealth as personal power, redefining it instead as a shared resource meant to serve others. Jesus presents a vision of a world where resources are held with open hands, where the wealth of one serves the needs of many. Another key area of contrast is Jesus' emphasis on inner purity over ritualistic practices. In Jesus' time, religious practices often centered around ritual purity, strict observances, and outward signs of devotion. Jesus, however, taught that what comes from the heart is more important than any external practice. In modern life, we sometimes emphasize appearances, aligning with social expectations or adhering to a checklist of what makes a good person. Jesus disrupts this focus, urging his followers to cultivate an authentic inner life rather than focusing on outward appearances. His teaching calls us to examine our motivations and intentions, encouraging a life of sincerity where kindness, compassion, and humility are genuine expressions rather than mere performances. The idea of finding strength in meekness is yet another value that clashes with modern ideals. Today's society often associates strength with assertiveness, dominance, and the ability to get ahead. Jesus, however, taught that the meek shall inherit the earth, encouraging gentleness, humility, and a non-confrontational approach to life. While modern culture prizes power and ambition, Jesus' teaching suggests that true strength lies in kindness, resilience, and an ability to endure challenges with grace. He redefines strength as inner fortitude, showing that quiet strength can be more impactful than loud assertion. His message is a call to trust in the quiet power of patience, endurance, and humility, qualities that often go unnoticed but are transformative in their depth and impact. One of the most radical aspects of Jesus' teachings is the invitation to self-denial and sacrifice. Modern society often centers around self-fulfillment, with an emphasis on realizing one's potential, achieving personal goals, and finding oneself. Jesus, however, taught his followers to take up their cross and deny themselves. This doesn't mean ignoring one's needs or desires but rather embracing a life of service and self-giving. Jesus presents a vision of life where the deepest fulfillment comes from putting others first, finding purpose in lifting others up rather than focusing solely on personal gain. This teaching challenges us to look beyond individual achievement, inviting us to see that true fulfillment lies in acts of love and sacrifice, where we put the well-being of others on par with, or even above, our own. Seeing vulnerability as a pathway to connection is another powerful contrast between Jesus' teachings and modern ideals. In today's world, vulnerability is often seen as a weakness, something to hide in favor of projecting confidence and strength. Jesus, however, showed vulnerability openly, weeping in front of others, expressing sorrow, and sharing in others' pain. He taught that blessed are those who mourn, suggesting that vulnerability can be a source of strength and connection. Jesus' life shows us that allowing ourselves to be open and honest, even about our struggles, is a way to build genuine relationships and foster compassion. In a world where people often hide their true selves, his message encourages authenticity, showing that it's okay to embrace our shared humanity and find strength in our weaknesses. Jesus' teaching on finding joy in simplicity stands in stark contrast to modern consumer culture. Today's society often promotes the pursuit of material goods, with happiness seen as something that can be achieved through possessions, experiences, or success. Jesus, however, lived a simple life, often relying on the generosity of others and teaching that life's true richness is found in relationships, spiritual fulfillment, and service. His message challenges us to consider the beauty of simplicity, to find joy in what we have rather than in the endless pursuit of more. In a world that often equates happiness with acquisition, Jesus' example calls us to find contentment in simplicity, valuing what truly matters rather than getting caught up in the cycle of wanting. Each of these teachings, caring for the least, letting go of worry, radical generosity, inner sincerity, strength in meekness, self-denial, vulnerability, and joy in simplicity, offers a powerful contrast to today's cultural norms. Through these values, Jesus presents an alternative vision of life that places compassion, humility, and purpose above the pursuit of status, wealth, and personal ambition. His teachings invite us to reconsider what it means to live meaningfully, challenging us to redefine success as something measured not by external achievements but by the depth of our love, kindness, and commitment to others. One particularly challenging teaching is Jesus' message about loving and welcoming strangers. In a world often divided by borders, cultures, and ideologies, societies frequently draw lines between us and them, focusing on safeguarding resources or prioritizing those within their own circles. Jesus, however, taught that the neighbor includes even the outsider, the stranger, and those with whom we may not share common ground. Through parables like the Good Samaritan, he illustrated that compassion knows no boundaries, and that our moral responsibility extends to all people. In a modern context, where fear of the unknown can sometimes lead to mistrust, Jesus' teachings challenge us to look beyond divisions, to see the stranger as a brother or sister, and to act with generosity and kindness toward those outside our immediate circles. This teaching pushes us to create a world that is more inclusive, urging us to bridge divides with empathy and openness. Another contrasting teaching is Jesus' focus on childlike qualities as a path to greatness. In today's culture, adulthood often emphasizes sophistication, intellectualism, and assertiveness as markers of maturity and success. Yet Jesus declared, "Unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven." For Jesus, qualities such as innocence, trust, humility, and openness were far more valuable than the ambition and pride that often accompany adulthood. In a world that prizes complexity and independence, Jesus' message encourages us to return to simplicity, to approach life with curiosity, wonder, and humility. He invites us to find joy in the small, to approach others with open hearts, and to see the world through eyes of gratitude and awe. Non-resistance to evil is another concept that stands in stark contrast to modern ideals. Jesus taught, "Do not resist an evil person. If anyone slaps you on the right cheek, turn to them the other cheek also." This teaching goes against today's mindset of self-defense and asserting one's rights. While society often promotes standing one's ground and fighting back, Jesus advocated for a response that diffuses conflict rather than escalates it. This radical nonviolence is not about weakness but about breaking cycles of aggression. In a world that often glorifies retaliation, his teaching asks us to consider the strength required to respond with peace and to interrupt cycles of anger and violence with compassion and forgiveness. Another powerful contrast is Jesus' emphasis on trusting in providence over personal security. Today's world is often focused on securing one's future, whether through career stability, investments, or retirement plans. Jesus, however, taught his followers to rely on God's provision, urging them not to worry about tomorrow and saying, "Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or store away in barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them." While planning and security are essential in modern life, Jesus' message challenges us not to become so consumed by future concerns that we lose sight of the present. His teachings remind us that trust and surrender can bring peace, that life's beauty often unfolds when we release the need for complete control and allow ourselves to rest in faith. The call to live sacrificially for others is another teaching that contrasts with today's focus on personal happiness and self-fulfillment. Jesus taught, "Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends." While modern culture often emphasizes finding joy and fulfillment for oneself, Jesus presents a love that is willing to sacrifice for the well-being of others. This sacrificial love isn't only about grand gestures, it's seen in everyday acts of kindness, where we place others' needs alongside or even above our own. In a world where self-care and self-interest are often prioritized, Jesus' call to sacrifice reminds us that love can be transformative when it includes selflessness and a willingness to make meaningful sacrifices for the people we care about. The invitation to seek justice for the oppressed also sets Jesus apart from conventional values. In many societies, justice is viewed through the lens of law, order, or punishment. Jesus, however, focused on restorative justice, calling people to care for the marginalized, the poor, the widows, and the orphans. His teachings invite us to stand up for those without a voice, to fight for fairness, and to address the needs of those society often neglects. This approach contrasts with today's tendency to focus on individual success, encouraging instead a commitment to social equity and compassion. Jesus' vision of justice is deeply tied to love, inspiring us to build communities where everyone has the opportunity to thrive and be treated with dignity. Focusing on inner transformation over outward success is another key element of Jesus' message that clashes with modern values. Today's culture often emphasizes achievements, accolades, and recognition as measures of success. Jesus, however, taught that what matters most is the condition of one's heart. He spoke of the importance of humility, purity, and an inner life that aligns with one's values. His message calls us to prioritize inner growth over external accomplishments, reminding us that true fulfillment comes from within. In a world that prizes outward displays of success, Jesus challenges us to cultivate qualities such as love, patience, humility, and integrity, focusing on who we are rather than what we have achieved. Modern innovations cater to ease and efficiency, sometimes at the cost of resilience and depth. Jesus, however, taught that suffering has a unique role in the human experience. He did not glorify pain, but he encouraged his followers to find meaning within it. He said, "Take up your cross and follow me," implying that there is purpose in embracing hardship, that through suffering, we grow, deepen, and learn. This teaching asks us to face life's challenges with courage, to allow pain to transform us rather than seeking to escape it. In a world that often seeks shortcuts and quick fixes, Jesus' message encourages us to see life's difficulties as opportunities for growth, empathy, and spiritual maturity. The practice of forgiveness as liberation stands in stark opposition to the modern tendency toward resentment, holding grudges, and seeking retribution. In today's world, forgiveness is often viewed as something that is earned, and there's a cultural inclination to hold on to anger as a form of self-protection. Jesus, however, taught that forgiveness is not just a gift to the one forgiven but a path to freedom for the one forgiving. His teachings encourage us to release resentment, to forgive even those who may not deserve it, and to let go of the burden of past hurts. Jesus' teaching on the first being last, and the last being first offers a radical rethinking of social order. In a society that values ambition, achievement, and recognition, this idea goes against the grain. Jesus taught that those who serve are the greatest in the kingdom of God, that humility and lowliness are more honorable than positions of power. This teaching challenges our perceptions of status, urging us to seek positions of service rather than positions of dominance. It's a call to approach life with a humble spirit, to find fulfillment in helping others rather than in seeking validation or prestige. In a world where status is often pursued at any cost, Jesus' message invites us to redefine greatness as something that is measured by how we elevate others. These teachings, welcoming strangers, embracing childlike qualities, non-resistance, trusting in providence, living sacrificially, pursuing restorative justice, prioritizing inner growth, and valuing humility over status, create a framework for a life lived with love, compassion, and purpose. Through each of these principles, Jesus invites us to see beyond the immediate rewards of ambition, material gain, or self-centered goals, encouraging us to embrace a higher calling that enriches not only our own lives but the lives of others. In each of these ways, Jesus' teachings don't just challenge modern values, they offer a transformative path forward, a life of deeper connection, meaning, and fulfillment. His message invites us to shift our focus from self to service, from scarcity to trust, and from division to unity. In a world often driven by competition, he calls us to cultivate compassion. In a culture that glorifies success, he invites us to pursue simplicity and humility. His teachings remind us that true peace and joy come from living a life grounded in love and kindness, inspiring us to bring hope and healing to a world that needs it deeply. One of the most surprising aspects of Jesus' teachings is the idea of strength and vulnerability. Modern society often equates strength with self-sufficiency, control, and invulnerability. Vulnerability, on the other hand, is sometimes seen as a weakness, something to hide in order to appear strong and capable. Yet Jesus' life was filled with moments of vulnerability. He openly expressed sorrow, anger, and compassion, and he welcomed people into his personal struggles, even inviting his disciples to pray with him in his darkest hours. Jesus' approach reminds us that true strength lies in being open, in allowing others to see our humanity, and in connecting with others through honesty and authenticity. This teaching challenges the modern concept of strength, inviting us to find courage in showing up fully as we are, unshielded by facades. Radical compassion for the undesirable is another striking contrast between Jesus' teachings and contemporary society. In today's world, people often gravitate toward those who mirror their own values, socioeconomic status, or interests, while avoiding those seen as different or problematic. Jesus, however, went out of his way to interact with society's outcasts, the tax collectors, prostitutes, lepers, and sinners. He demonstrated that compassion isn't selective, that love should be extended to all, regardless of their background, mistakes, or social standing. This radical inclusivity challenges modern social dynamics, urging us to go beyond our comfort zones and reach out to those we might otherwise ignore or avoid. Jesus' teaching here is a call to recognize the dignity and worth in every person, and to approach each individual with love, without conditions or expectations. Another contrasting aspect is Jesus' invitation to embrace suffering rather than avoid it. Today's society often emphasizes comfort, convenience, and the avoidance of pain or difficulty whenever possible. This approach invites us to see forgiveness as an act of self-liberation, a way to free our hearts from anger and bitterness. In a culture where grudges can fuel divisions and harden relationships, Jesus' message is a reminder that true peace comes when we can let go, allowing love to replace resentment. Living with a sense of divine purpose over personal ambition is another teaching that sets Jesus' message apart from the values of today. Modern life often revolves around self-advancement, career growth, and personal achievement. Jesus, however, spoke of aligning one's life with a higher purpose, serving others, seeking justice, and embodying compassion. He encouraged people to see beyond themselves and to contribute to something greater. For Jesus, life was about being a part of God's work on earth, whether through acts of kindness, service, or simply living with integrity and love. In a world focused on personal success, his teachings invite us to pursue a purpose that reaches beyond our own interests, encouraging us to find fulfillment in impacting the lives of others and contributing to a more compassionate world. Faith over fear is another contrast that stands out sharply. In modern society, fear often governs decisions, from financial investments to personal relationships. We are taught to play it safe, to mitigate risks, and to prepare for worst-case scenarios. Jesus, however, urged his followers to have faith, even when faced with uncertainty or adversity. He encouraged them to trust in God's provision and to move forward in confidence rather than being paralyzed by fear. This teaching invites us to take risks rooted in faith, to believe in the goodness of the future even when it's uncertain, and to approach life with courage and trust. In a culture where fear often dictates actions, Jesus' message is a radical call to live boldly, grounded in the faith that we are cared for and supported, even in the face of challenges. Valuing inner contentment over constant striving is yet another striking aspect of Jesus' teachings. Modern culture frequently pushes us toward continuous improvement, productivity, and self-optimization, creating an environment where there is always a sense of not enough. Jesus, on the other hand, encouraged people to find joy in the present, to be grateful for what they have, and to cultivate inner peace that doesn't rely on external accomplishments. He taught that life's true wealth comes not from external success but from a spirit of contentment. This teaching challenges the modern drive for more, inviting us to slow down, to appreciate the small moments, and to embrace gratitude as a source of lasting happiness. The invitation to be peacemakers stands in opposition to a world that often views conflict, rivalry, and competition as natural and inevitable. Jesus said, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God," encouraging his followers to actively pursue peace and reconciliation. While modern society frequently accepts conflict as part of life, Jesus called for intentional, deliberate efforts to heal divisions, to bring people together, and to foster harmony. His teachings on peacemaking ask us to be proactive in resolving conflicts, to listen with empathy, and to build bridges rather than walls. In a divided world, this message is a call to choose peace, to act as agents of unity and understanding. Together, these teachings, strength in vulnerability, radical compassion, embracing suffering, liberation through forgiveness, living with divine purpose, faith over fear, contentment in simplicity, and active peacemaking, paint a picture of a life that is deeply countercultural, yet profoundly fulfilling. Jesus' message doesn't just suggest a different way of living. It invites us into a way of being that transforms not only ourselves but also the world around us. If these ideas resonate with you, join me as we continue to explore the depth and richness of Jesus' teachings. Together, we can discover how these timeless values can guide us toward lives of purpose, joy, and compassion, creating ripples of peace and kindness in our communities and beyond. Through these reflections, may we be inspired to embrace the courage, empathy, and love that Jesus embodied, bringing healing and hope to a world that deeply needs it.